that, and I would encourage all of us, regardless of whether we become Buddhist or not, that we should all become Nangpa in that sense of it. Because we see in the world those people that have, attained a high level of external development, and even whole countries that have done so, still the corresponding level of happiness hasn't really gone up as much as the society maybe has us believe. And we see many people with a lot of external development, wealth and so forth, that are extremely unhappy. So that is not the only element in the formula for happiness that we should be concerned with. And on the other hand, even today and throughout history, there have been many individuals who, despite humble economic means and surroundings, have maintained a very high level of happiness and contentment. And so, that's our job, and that's why we come here. And then, as we learn about these techniques to develop our minds and our internal mental happiness, yes, it'll benefit ourselves, but also we'll be in a better position to, help others. And also, as our mind is more peaceful and calm, then they'll have a ripple effect in the people that we interact with on a daily basis. So try to keep those two things in mind always for our motivation for anything we do. We want to be happiness, it's good, but although there is happiness that comes from the physical development and mental development, here, when we start talking about meditation and our Dharma practice, we're focusing more on the mental development. That as we develop ourselves in this way, we'll be of more benefit to ourselves and others. Okay? Sound good? Great. So now, given that's our project and our motivation, then what do we do? And so here, this meditation is one of the main tools that we're going to use to develop ourselves internally, mentally. And meditation is in Tibetan, the word is gom, and gom means to familiarize, or habituate. So we are creatures of habit, right? And as with anything, the more you do something, the easier it is to do in the future, right? So the choices we make, then kind of send us down a certain road, right? And in provocative situations where we are criticized, then because we have a habit of getting offended and angered easily, if we have so-called thin skin, then that just some small insult to us can ruin us for the rest of the day. And sometimes, comments that I've heard in relation to me, I've held on for years, And so anyway, what we're trying to do is look and take a mental inventory of what's going on with us. And then those habits that are constructive and helpful to our happiness and well-being, we try to strengthen them and make them stronger. And the negative habits of mind that are, not useful for our happiness and well-being, we then try to unwind, loosen them, and so they can eventually, not have such a strong hold over us. Okay? So, then we can think of meditation just as being, a repeated familiarization of the mind with virtuous states by focusing our attention on chosen objects. Okay? And although there are many kinds of meditation, then if we divide them into two major categories, we talk about what we call analytic meditation and placement meditation. Placement meditation is what we would normally think of in terms of meditation, where we take our mind and place it on an object and try to hold it there without letting the mind waver to something else. Okay? Whereas analytic meditation is we use a process of analysis, reasoning, thinking, to try to arrive at a certain conclusion, and then we hold our mind on that conclusion. So we'll give some examples later, but just one thing at the beginning is, what we did this for the first 4 minutes where we meditated, right? So that was a placement meditation. Yeah, we placed our mind on the object of the breath and we tried to hold it. So actually, this type of meditation has become very, 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 very popular all over the world now, and there are a whole body of scientific evidence extolling or praising the benefits of meditation. And even what we did, right? So we're all like this. We want to have the maximum results for the minimum amount of work, right? And so, right? And so this very meditation that we did is, it's not the kind of panacea that's going to, be a magic wand that gets rid of all of our problems, but it's pretty close, right? And so I wanted to just delve into a little bit of the scientific research that talks about the benefits of meditation. Because another thing that's, when we start talking about developing a new habit, we first have to see the benefits and become a little bit convinced of the benefits of doing something, and then it helps us do it, right? So, if you guys wish, I have a bibliography of some of these articles that I can send to you afterwards, right? Otherwise, just trust me. So first thing, okay, of course, the real evidence is from all the centuries of these great masters, and even today, you meet people who have practiced meditation for a long time, and you just see that they're special beings. And if any of you have even been in the presence of a great master like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, if you haven't, December 11th. But you see these great beings, and the first time I met the Dalai Lama, it's like, wow, I want to be like you, really amazing beings. And then you have to ask, right, how did this happen, right? And one of the very hopeful and inspiring bits in the Buddhist world system is that all of the faults of our mind can be eliminated. And all of the positive qualities of the mind can be developed, well, infinitely. And so that very state of enlightenment is just the pinnacle of our development as human beings. It's something mystical or, but it's just a kind of state that we can all attain. And the reason we can attain it is that we have a mind. That's it. And because we have this mind that is, not intrinsically bad or intrinsically angry or deluded, right? There's a way of training it that we can then gradually, through this process of meditation, unwind those negative habit patterns, and eventually we'll be able to abandon getting angry and being greedy and being prideful and jealous. And the positive qualities like love and compassion, wisdom, tolerance, patience, those can all be developed. And when we reach the end point of that development, that is what the state of Buddha is, So that should make us very hopeful, right? And no matter how bad things are, then no matter how bad a mental state we're in, then it's not, doesn't always have to be like that, right? Impermanence is this one big concept within the Buddhist thought, and it's a double-edged sword. It's a two-way street. Many people, they emphasize the negative side of impermanence a lot, right? Like, I'm having a nice time, but it's all impermanent. So yeah, there's nothing real. And then they can get really depressed, right? That all of our good experiences are, ultimately, there's no essence. But the flip side is that impermanence also can bring hope, right? Because our bad conditions also are not permanent in nature. Our negative emotions are impermanent in nature. That means if they're exposed to different causes and conditions, they can change. So, anyway, the benefits of meditation, then you can see in these great masters that through a process of training, they have then subdued their minds and developed some very precious inner qualities. Yeah. And for a long time, actually, have you heard of Alan Wallace? Yeah. Alan Wallace. He's, a couple of decades ago, he was a monk and trained in this tradition. Now he went on to Western academia, and he's at the University of Santa Barbara, and he does a lot of work with research in meditation and the effects on the brain and all these kinds of things. Anyway, he wrote a book called, part of it was like The Taboo of Subjectivity. The taboo of subjectivity. Yes? And so for many years, right, the traditional scientific view has to be objective, right? And even one's own reports about what is going on in the mind, well, that wouldn't be admissible as scientific evidence, right? And for that reason, it was only up until recently, very recently, where they've been now putting people into functional MRI machines and doing different, tests. I think all of you have seen like the pictures of the Tibetan monks with like all these nodes on their head, right? And so more recently they've been doing this research. Because just saying, yeah, I'm happier now isn't, admissible as scientific evidence. So in any case, what the research has shown is, meditation boosts our health, okay? So even the immune function, is better as we meditate. The pain decreases, and inflammation at the cellular level has been shown to decrease. And then, I don't know who's interested in this, but they found that people who meditate, then it reduces the amount of food one has to eat, because one is more in touch with the signals that the body is telling us that we've eaten enough, and then that has a positive effect on our weight and other elements of health. And then it's also been shown to be very helpful in reducing addiction. So yes, even like for people with OCD or other kinds of psychological disorders, it's been shown to very much help.
Also sleep.
Sleep is common. So if some of you want to learn more about this, there's a very excellent book by Jeffrey Schwartz, who's a psychiatrist at UCLA. And he wrote this book, You Are Not Your Brain. And he's done a lot of work with people trying to overcome like OCD, ADD, and addiction, and using mindfulness meditation to do that. And so this very meditation technique that we did at the beginning, okay, it's the very kernel. It's it's like, you know what I mean? The kernel. It's like the central point that we can then use across many different things that we're trying to do. Okay. So just to give you an idea how we would use this to help overcome addiction, and maybe not even we're not addicted, but let's say we have a little problem with self-control, eating too much chocolate and potato chips, okay? So the point is like this. Remember what I was saying, in this meditation of watching the breath, there's going to be different distracting thoughts that come up, okay? But we notice them and then not engage with them, and then they pass away, right? So that happens with, as we meditate, different disturbing thoughts, but it also happens when we have some desire, right? We want to eat the chocolate, we want to, whatever, wash our hands 20 times, or anything. Every single mind is impermanent in nature. And if we develop this faculty of mind that is called, non-judgmental awareness, right? Where we notice what's happening in the mind, but we don't judge it, we don't engage with it, then it'll just pass away on its own, right? So something that I noticed in my own life, then sometimes, when you do these meditation retreats, then one doesn't eat dinner, right? And well, part of that is when we eat a lot of food, what happens? Then we get very lethargic. And so having a, not eating afternoon, it helps the clarity of our meditation a lot. Have any of you done that yet? But in any case, then in these retreats, you sometimes take a vow not to eat after noon, right? And then 6 o'clock comes around and those hunger pangs come, right? And I think those hunger pangs are even worse because you've taken the vow not to eat, right? I'm not sure. It's like the forbidden fruit, right? So you have two choices, right? You can either learn, or you can first break the vow, but that's not cool. But if you have that desire, you can either kind of by brute force, just like have the desire but not eat, and then it's really like torture. Or you can learn how to work with the desire so that it goes away. And one strategy, right, is to just notice that desire as any other phenomena of the mind. You see it, you're aware of it, and then, you let it dissolve by not engaging in it. And one way to do that is try to become aware of how it is physically manifesting in the body. Because when we get into the conceptual mind that's thinking, then, first you just have some desire for food. And then if you keep thinking about it, you'll have a desire for, French fries or, some food you like. And then as it gets more and more specific, it's like, oh my God, I need that French fries, So instead of getting into that mental conceptual elaboration, to just go immediately to the sensation. Okay, there is, this feeling in my stomach. Okay, let me observe that. What is that like? How is it manifesting, right? And when you see that these two, even that desire for food, right? Usually what happens, we have a desire for food, and then we eat the food and the desire goes away. And so we are habituating ourselves to think we need that object to make it go away. But actually, especially when you have the vow, and you just don't eat the food, you'll notice you won't be hungry all night. That desire for the food will go away by itself without having to eat. So then, when you see that, this is the whole point, then that desire no longer can control you, right? You can break that habit and that association we have with, needing to get that object of desire for the desire to go away. Okay? And loosening that is the whole point of dealing with our addictions. Yeah. So, why that book is called You Are Not Your Brain, right, is because, we then don't identify there's like this stimulus that we're getting, right, this desire for food. But that is, we kind of, not identify with it. We take one step back and view that desire from a third-party perspective, and then it doesn't have as much control over us. All right, so that's about health. Then meditation, and it has been shown in some ways to boost happiness So of course, positive emotions, you know, as we, even something, you know, there's this thing that kind of became a fad. Do you see this? Like you journal and you write down 3 things that you're grateful for every day. You heard of this? This is great. This is meditation, actually, right? When we engage in even a simple practice like this, what are we doing? We are training our mind, we're habituating our mind to see the positive in life, right? And especially seeing 3 things you're grateful for. Yes, you can see the things that are good in your life. And as you're forced to do this, then it becomes easier to do. And you start just looking, you know, like counting your blessings, really looking at all the good things in life. And then, you know, it also, when we think of all the good things that we're receiving from other people, then we can develop a sense of, you know, closeness and gratitude for people. And then that helps our connection with others when we see how much our happiness is dependent on others. So, anyway, you know, there's that whole thing, right? Is the glass half empty or half full, right? Both answers are right, yeah? But it depends on how your mind is looking at it. So many times in our lives, we can view the world in different ways. And viewing it from a pessimistic perspective, then that has implications for our mood and well-being. So as much as possible, we should try to train ourselves to look on the positive. And this gratefulness journal, or whatever it's called, is a very good way to do that. All right. So it increases positive emotions. Then also, it decreases depression. So there was a study done at Johns Hopkins University where they found that even doing this mindfulness meditation that we did at the beginning is as effective as the depression drugs for curing depression. Now, these depression drugs actually aren't that effective in the first place, right? But again, this meditation is just one tool that we use. But if it is as effective as the the medication, and it doesn't have all these side effects, then it can be a helpful tool that we use in trying to have a sense of lasting well-being. And then next point is decreasing anxiety. So we're going to talk about this more maybe this afternoon or tomorrow. But in any case, there have been studies done at the Massachusetts General Hospital. There's one famous John Kabat-Zinn, right?
Cabazon.
Yeah. Oh.
Cabazon.
No, not Jose Cabazon. John Kabat-Zinn, hyphenated, I think.
MBT.
Yeah, mindfulness-based
Stress
reduction. Yes. Hey, you're from Boston, aren't you?
Vermont.
Vermont. It's all the same. No, anyway. So anyway, there's this one psychiatrist who's developed this mindfulness-based stress reduction, and he's been very influential in getting it, accepted within the kind of medical and scientific community. And he works through Massachusetts General Hospital. And then also there's a study done at Stanford University that also has shown the effects of meditation for helping with anxiety. And then of course, decreasing stress levels. They've shown that the amount of the stress hormone cortisol decreases in the blood as we meditate. And the presence of cortisol is it's also associated with weight gain and other things. aging prematurely and so forth. So, anyway. Next, meditation. It can be thought of as a very solitary endeavor, but it's actually shown that it improves your social life. So the social connections and emotional intelligence in meditators, increases and actually helps us to have better connection with other people. I think part of this is because when we come to view our own internal mental state better, we have an increased awareness of what's going on with ourselves, and then we can kind of infer with others what's going on with them. Yes, and then of course makes you more compassionate and helps you feel less lonely. And there are specific meditation techniques that we can use for developing our compassion, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. Then importantly, this is related to the addiction point, but meditation can help us boost our self-control among anything, not just with addiction, but even how much time we spend on social media or something, right? We have important things to do, but we get distracted easily. And so having this self-control will then also have positive effects on our productivity at work and even our productivity in the things that are important in our lives, not related to work. And then on a very neurological level, the studies have shown that meditation has been beneficial in increasing the gray brain matter and density of certain areas of the brain. So, they did a study at Harvard that has shown that the meditators have been able to increase the thickness in the hippocampus, you with me? Which governs learning and memory, and then also in the areas of the brain that are associated with emotional regulation and self-referential processing. I copied and pasted this from the article. And then there are also decreases in the cell volume in the amygdala, which is responsible for fear and anxiety. And and then not only that, but here the scientists there were more open to the self-reporting, and so also that matched with the people in the study were asked them, how's your stress level? And they also say, yeah, I'm feeling less stressed. Mm-hmm. And then, this is all something important for all of us. They found that the long-term meditators, so normally the amount of kind of density in our brain decreases with age, but they found the meditators had this greatly reduced. They have better preserved brains than the non-meditators. And then there is this part of the brain that's called the default mode network, right? And this is the area of the brain where the so-called monkey mind comes from, or the different thoughts coming up, the chatter in the mind. And when this is very active, it actually they did this study. I think there was an app where they would ping you at certain times in a day, and they would ask people how happy they are. So they found the highest correlation between unhappiness and the distracted mind. So anyway, as we meditate, then the activity in this will go down, not just as we're meditating, but throughout our day.